chemin de roi. The king's path has already been chosen. Drink responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Harie Robinson, Chop Talk with Harie. We are at episode 11, and I'm here with a very intelligent young brother, Campbell Cobb. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Excited to be here, Harie.
Appreciate
Very
your
nice
time.
to see you. Yeah,
Appreciate
of course,
your time.
Of course.
For people don't know, just give me an idea of kind of your personal history, where you're from, and how you ended up here, and then we'll kind of get into your role at Odyssey Jiu Jitsu in terms of your head of instructor. Let's just give me some background. Give the audience an idea of where you come from and what you dealt with in life.
Alrighty, so I'm 21 years old. My name's Campbell Cobb. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm the oldest boy in a group of 3 brothers.
All right.
I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a little over 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of who I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we've had some great conversations getting up to this point. So you are the head instructor.
Head kids instructor, yes.
Kids instructor at Odyssey.
Yes, sir, yes.
So give us some insight on how it is to teach kids, especially teaching them jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so I think kind of the biggest way that I can kind of tell you and explain to you kids jiu-jitsu is by telling you the difference between adult and kids. So one of the blessings about teaching children is the fact that they really do believe, whatever you tell them.
Definitely.
So when you're teaching them a movement-based art, such as jiu-jitsu, the really cool thing about kids is they kind of just choose to believe whatever you tell them. So obviously you're held accountable to your standard. So if I'm at a low standard, the kids will be at a low standard.
Correct.
But if I'm at a high standard, the kids will be at a very high standard. So the reality of teaching jiu-jitsu is not only am I supplying them with the skills to defend themselves and take care of themselves, but the habits that are bred by practicing a martial art like jiu-jitsu is also going to impact and improve their ability to operate as a member in society one day.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing about what you're doing at the age you're doing it is being focused at 21 years old and already having the mindset and the mentality to go ahead and help the youth, because that's where it's needed. It doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are. It's the fact that you're taking out time and you're willing to teach kids of any race jiu-jitsu that'll put them on the right track. We spoke briefly. I want you to give people an idea of your instruction as well in terms of APS, Atlantic Public School Systems.
Yeah, so I work with North Metro Martial Arts. I'm an independent contractor, and we have a contract with Power Up, which basically allows us to go into a multitude of different schools within the Atlanta public school system and teach not only jiu-jitsu, but the habits conducive to be a good scholar and also a good person.
That's very strong. How long have you been doing that for?
So I've been doing that for a little bit over 2 years. We started out one school, me and the head of North Metro Martial Arts, Scott Tasker, and now we have 8 instructors total, and I believe we're currently at 6 schools across Atlanta.
That's very strong. So not only are you helping kids, but you bring in awareness to jiu-jitsu.
Of course.
Yeah,
yes, of course.
And that's how you can build the actual art and the teaching of jiu-jitsu is by doing exactly what you're doing. Speak to me a little bit. We spoke about some entrepreneurship things in terms of your active wear or fitness wear, your jiu-jitsu wear. The name.
Yep. So I'm currently, I've been working on this project with my friend Joshua Sermons for a little over 2 years, Free Smoke Fightwear. So he does all the design portion of it, and he's extremely talented. He does a lot of really cool things with graphic design and putting those on rash guards that haven't really been done in the space before.
I might need to talk with him.
Yeah, he handles the creative aspect, and I kind of handle some of the business aspects. But like I said, we've been doing that a little over 2 years. But our main thing is how can we use jiu-jitsu to bring people together? So we started the company. We wanted to shoot a video. We chose an abandoned parking lot near a church in Smyrna, and we put mats down. We invited a bunch of friends. We handed out prototypes of a rash guard that we had designed, and we basically shot a video where we're training and also wearing the rash guard, and that was Free Smoke Fightwear, the idea that anytime, anywhere you can get it, free smoke.
Wow. Have you already dropped that particular video, marketing
Yeah,
video?
so
It's
that
been out
video
for a
is
while?
that video is on our YouTube, Free Smoke BJJ. Yeah,
Dope.
we've released 2 videos on there currently, and more to come in 2024 is the goal.
That's awesome. So let me ask you this. Are there any upcoming, outside of what we spoke about, do you have any other endeavors or businesses or anything that's coming up?
Yeah, so I'm a brand ambassador for Nation Athletic,
There
which
we
is a
go.
company that was it's based out of New York, in the Bronx. The founder, Mark, I think, started the company during the pandemic, and it's grown to a startling size in the short amount of years
That's
that it's been
crazy.
available to the public. So I'm doing brand ambassador work for him right now. I really love their designs. They're very cool. They do a lot of stuff with hip hop. So
Okay.
obviously the New York influence. They do a
Definitely.
lot of collaborative stuff with, Wu-Tang sets, Biggie sets, Tupac
That's
sets,
dope.
things like
That's
that. It's
dope.
very
How long
cool.
have you been an ambassador with them?
So they reached out to me and gave me the opportunity to be an ambassador a little bit after Nogi Pans, which would have happened in October.
Dope. Dope. So now we're going to get into some chop talk.
Let's do it. Let's chop it up.
You know, the first topic I always start off with is spirituality. So I like to ask each guest, what does Campbell do on a daily basis? What's your spiritual regimen?
So in 2023, I read a book that really changed my life called The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Mark Rubin. And basically what it goes over is this idea of we as humans are can only comprehend what we are aware of.
Correct.
And we all as human beings are artists.
Definitely.
And we don't get to choose to be an artist. We are artists, but what we choose to make as artists is what we get to choose. So the book basically talks about how if you want to be a good artist, you have to expand your creative awareness. You can only comprehend creatively what you know.
Correct.
And so I would say on a day-to-day basis, the main things that I do is I look for ways to expand that creative awareness, whether that's reading the classics. I've been really getting into the Stoic philosophies of Marcus Aurelius recently, or the Book of Five Rings by Musashi Miyamoto. I'm looking to expose myself to those creative philosophies that expand myself and my knowledge of creativity.
That's sharp. That's sharp. At least you're putting reading to it. And with reading, it can be sometimes a way to meditate when you're reading because it opens up your mind.
Of course.
And it gives you a better perspective. After you do that, I mean, I'm assuming you do this any time out of the day, but for me, it's always trying to get to it first thing in the morning.
Oh, of course.
Before I get to moving and grooving, it's like,
sir.
man, let me go ahead and read. Let me read a Bible scripture. Let me just relax. I don't want to listen to any trap music or hardcore music before 12 noon.
Set the precedent for your day.
Correct. So let me ask you this. What do you feel is the importance of having a spiritual relationship with the higher power, God, the universe? What do you think the importance of that is?
So I obviously think that everyone's conviction is their own, but personally my conviction is that we're created in the image of God, and to know God is to know ourselves. And
Definitely.
so the more we can enhance and come to know our relationship with God, ultimately the more we come to know ourselves. And so to me it's extremely important on a day-to-day basis to make yourself to come to understand how you relate to God. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I'm gonna get off topic for a minute, but the way when I met you and the way you speak in your thought process, so I would have to say your mom and pops played a very strong.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, three brothers, right?
Yep, 3 brothers. The oldest of 3, Landon and Lawson, are the younger 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a blessing, man. You got to always recognize the parents. You can
course.
tell when parents have paid attention to their kids.
Yep.
When they've transferred their intelligence and their ways, and you can tell that they actually paid attention and kept their hands on you. What areas do you feel there's room for improvement in regards to your spiritual journey with God? Where's there room for improvement?
Well, to me, the reality of God is that we can never truly comprehend God. He is above us. He is not of this world. We are finite beings attempting to comprehend the infinite plans of something that is much greater than us. So to me, the main thing that I find that I struggle with when it comes to my faith is, to use a phrase, I put the sins of my father and the sins of man on God, when the reality is that that is not God-breathed, that is not of God, it is of man. And so 2024 to me is going to be all about deciphering the difference between what is God-breathed and what is breathed by man in the world.
It's very strong there, Campbell. Very strong. Spirituality, we moving into relationships.
Yep.
These are more, and this is going to be great because you're 21. So, I want to get an idea.
Of course.
Family, marriages, relationships, significant others.
Yeah.
I always tell people this. When I was your age, when I looked at a woman, it was all visual. I just bypassed conversations that I should have had. I'm trying to jump to the physical before the conversation. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now at 48, I got to have the conversation. I need to know where you're from, your spirituality. What have you been through in life? And I get it now, and it's never too late, but I want to hear your take on this at 21, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the stereotypical story when it's come to relation is certainly not mine. I have a girlfriend that I'm with right now.
Beautiful.
We're moving into, I think we're about a month and a half away from being together for a year.
Dope.
And I'm going to be honest with you, and this goes kind of back to the philosophy that my parents instilled within me, but the reality is that I've kind of always dated with the idea of having serious plans in the future. So when it comes to meeting women in particular, and then also when it comes to friends, I've always looked to associate myself with people that I'll really go to bat and advocate for, because the reality is we are made by the people we surround ourselves with. So I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have a girlfriend that really advocates for me and wants the best for me. And I'm also surrounded by, obviously, a family structure of parents and brothers who also support me in what I do.
That's very strong. The most important thing that stands out is you said your girlfriend goes to bat for you, advocates for you.
Yeah, of course.
But see, that's where I made a mistake at my younger age. I didn't have that thought process. It's like, oh, man, God did a beautiful job with her, man. Let me go ahead and, skip a lot of things, skip the proper steps to have longevity. And that's something good. That's something good that you brought up is, you going into every situation, even with dating, that there's some seriousness to it. You're trying
serious
to have
implications. Yeah,
correct.
The consequences are. We're talking about the realities of the heart, so
correct.
Of course.
Yeah.
Harsh realities. Yeah.
Yeah, ain't no way around it. There's no way around it. This is a question I always like to ask. We're going to kind of shift to business. How do you decipher? Okay. Because you have an entrepreneurial business set up and you also have a structured setup. I always like to add people, is it possible to decipher? So say if you're doing family with your business, like your blood family versus strangers, not strangers, but just people that you may have met and y'all have good chemistry. How do you decipher? Do you want to do business with your family when you're doing a startup, or do you think it's going to be more advantageous to deal with somebody that you're not related to, but they have the expertise? How can you decipher? What choice would you make?
So I think when it comes to business, kind of the main thing that I adhere to is the idea of that regardless of whether they're family or someone that you don't know, I want someone that's going to advocate for me. And this applies to relationships as well. But when it comes to business and money, these are very, very important things
Correct.
that we base a large part of our life around. And so the reality is that I'm not going to go to business with someone that won't advocate for me in the way that I will advocate for them. And
Correct.
Luckily enough, I've been gracious to be blessed by mentors in business like my friend Walter, like my friend Dan Ye, and then obviously the men that I'm engaged in business with, Greg and
Correct.
Scott. Every single one of them advocate for me. Not only are they looking to do business with me, but they're also looking to help me do business independent of them in the future. They're looking to equip me to deal with the world, and they inspire me to do the same thing with the next generation when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I'm looking to equip the next generation to become independent problem solvers.
That's very strong, which leads me to my next question, because you have some great mentors and people that you're doing.
Of course, yeah. Yep.
Great business, which y'all are fully involved and engaged. So this question is going to be good for me to see what type of feedback you can get an audience. But what's the best approach to business structure in regards to startup? You could look at it from the perspective of your brand that you and your business partner have, or just working with people like Greg at Odyssey. What do you think is the most what's the best approach to the actual structure? Before you get started with business, what do you think is the most important?
So, I mean, I can't pretend to know everything, and I'm definitely still in the process of learning, but the kind of main themes that have stuck out to me when it comes to business is, again, the idea of, you know, putting the time in. So don't take on things that you can't take care of. If you don't have time for it, don't take it.
Don't even start.
Exactly. Yeah. And so kind of figuring out what my limits are, the lines that can't be crossed. At what point does the energy I put into my businesses affect the energy that I put into my relationships? Because as soon as one starts to affect the other, I would say that we've come into a little bit of an unhealthy balance. So the main thing for me, I think, when it comes to business is only take on what you know. Just as you expect your business partners to be an advocate for yourself, you also must be an advocate for yourself and only take on what you're capable of putting your best foot forward in.
Correct. What do you feel is the most important ingredient, not in the structure, but in the business relationship?
It's wanting to do it.
Correct.
So Charlotte Mason has this idea of joyful exploration. My girlfriend is a teacher at Heritage Preparatory School, where they teach the kids with this idea of joyful exploration. Don't go into business in something that you don't enjoy doing. You know, the old phrase that, you know, if you like what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
I'm telling you.
It holds true. And the reality is not only will you never work a day in your life, but your passion in what you do will motivate you to come to such a level that you're above most of the other people in the area, just because you love what you do versus they're forced to do what they do.
I tell people every time, it doesn't matter whether you are working for yourself or in a corporate structure, you got to try and find something. Not try, you need to actually do it. Find something that you're going to like.
I've never focused on making money.
Yeah.
Ever.
You don't even think about it.
No.
It flows easier.
It comes with it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. I like to ask people this because I love the responses I get. Time versus money. What's more valuable? I know I got an idea what you're going to say, but what's more valuable, time or money?
Time is way more valuable than money is.
Exactly.
Because you can make money, you can lose money.
Yeah. But
the only thing that you lose is time.
Correct.
The only thing you can do with time is lose it. You can't get it back. Once it's gone, you'll never get it back. And I think, again, this ties into the spiritual aspect that we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, where we were talking about increasing our creative awareness. The way to make the best use of time is by being aware of everything that will come to you in that time. Because the reality is, once the opportunity has passed, you know, you've lost it. Matthew McConaughey has a quote in the book Green Light where he talks about we are made for every moment. The moment either makes us or we make the moment, and that decision is predicated on our preparation.
Yeah.
So time to me is always more valuable than money, because there's this adage that time is money. No. To me, time is time, and you can make money in time, but they're not synonymous. And there's much better things to do with your time than make money, in my opinion.
Do you feel with the time versus money, how would you balance? Because you can't have one without the other.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
And there can't be too much weight on one. There has to be some type of balance there. What ways do you think, you being your age and what you're doing currently, how do you manage to balance, your time between, you've got quite a few things going on, with being a head kids instructor at Odyssey. You got, you're teaching kids in elementary school. You got a brand. You got girlfriend. Y'all getting some stuff done. You got to go back and see moms. Like, how do you balance your time? Because you got to put in the time to get the money, but you can't let it just run you all over the place.
Yeah, so I think that's a really great question, and it's something that I'm still learning and searching for. But to me, the biggest thing, especially when it comes to managing everything, is understanding the impact that putting more energy towards one thing takes energy away from all the other things. So my professor Greg tells me when it comes to jiu-jitsu, I like to watch a lot of YouTube. I like to look at all the flashy things. I like to think about how I can put that in my system and how I can do that when it comes to competition. But the reality is, every single time I take something on, I also lose something.
Definitely.
And so
something's gonna get left behind.
Something will take up the slack. So,
which I'm glad you brought that up by saying something gets left behind when you move on to something else, and that's why I like to have these conversations, because I don't think a lot of people really put enough thought process into time management.
Of course, yeah.
So with time management, you really can do a multitude of things across the board if you really are taking it time to schedule out your day.
Of course.
On a consistent basis.
Yeah.
So even when you step away from something, you got a time slot here where you got to get back to it. So, just to piggyback off of what you said, time management is very important to that balance for sure. Let's talk some finance, some financial literacy. Let's talk about, I guess we could use your brand as an example, because I think that would be the best way. I'm interested to see how you and your partner decided. How did y'all get the investment capital, or did y'all save up for it? How did you get started with the brand?
Yeah, so
did y'all have a plan?
Yeah, it goes
Business plan?
Of course, yeah.
Right,
so it all goes back to kind of the theme we talked about, where only take on what you can take care of.
Correct.
But that was kind of our idea. We never wanted to be in a deficit when it came to this business. We always wanted this to be something that was fun for us, that we wanted to pour a lot of time and creativity in. So the reality when it came to the business is it was really, really based on demand. What we would do a lot of is take pre-orders. So we would get an exact kind of, we would really hone in on the detail of what exactly people wanted from us.
Correct.
And then, you might order 5 extras just in case. Yeah. But we were always operating within our means. The reality of being 21 is I don't really have the fiscal capacity to deal with taking on a bunch of different things, and I definitely am not interested in taking loans out. So the reality has been we're always kind of looking to just build one level at a time. I think a lot of people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in 5. So that's
very
kind
strong.
of something that I'm very
strong.
When it comes to business, at least, that's a philosophy that I really
I love that
to.
philosophy. You being at that point at your age now, there's no limitations. There's no limit. I'll just put it to you that way. Something else you said that I really like is operating within your means.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people, when I ask this question about how did you get started or what type of startup capital that you need, a lot of times, sometimes it's not even capital that you need. It's the planning, the strategy,
of course,
understanding that you need to operate within your means. And then with the amount of mentors you have and relationships you have, sometimes it don't take as much as you think it do.
It's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
And the pre-order aspect is kind of leading into my next question of how you control overhead expenses. And that's a perfect way to cut that shit down out the gate. Go ahead and give the audience a taste and not over-order and have stale product. But what are some other ways that you've had to cut overhead? It doesn't have to be your brand in business. It could just be in general. What are some of the best ways that you cut overhead?
Of course. So the main things that I can speak to is kind of how I make money as a martial arts instructor. So the main thing for me has obviously been that I don't have the capital to afford a building. I can't put a roof over my students to teach them.
Correct.
So I work as an independent contractor for North Metro Martial Arts and for the Atlanta Public School programs that I do.
Correct.
And so there's no overhead there because I'm just paid for teaching the kids. And then
Exactly.
at Odyssey, I am paid a salary as the head kids instructor. So that's much more steady versus
Definitely.
the ASP programs is kind of based on attendance. So I have a much more steady form of income. Then I also have one that kind of can come and go a little bit.
Gotcha. That's that's a good way to just not have overhead at all. Damn near.
Of course, yeah.
You know.
Yep.
I just don't really think we spoke about this earlier before we started the podcast. I want you to give the audience an idea of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, of course.
Jiu-jitsu, you have to be disciplined, of course, but I don't think a lot of really people know what jiu-jitsu is and what it requires in terms of your mental and your physical.
Yeah. So to me, jiu-jitsu is about putting people on the ground, controlling them once they're there.
Definitely.
And then once you have controlled them, ultimately moving to submit them, whether that's attacking strangles on the neck or submission locks or holds on the legs or arms. But to me, it is all predicated about control that ultimately leads to submission.
That's very strong. And I never knew that. We were also talking about, I think a lot of people would be curious to know, and we talked about competition fights and how it works in regards to compensation. And I just don't think people really know, but I think you can give them some insight.
Yeah. So the reality is that jiu-jitsu is we're kind of in the advent of jiu-jitsu right now. So the reality is that there's really not a steady framework. There's not kind of one precedent that's been set where that's kind of the gold standard upon which every jiu-jitsu competition is based. I do feel, however, that there are several kind of major players when it comes to jiu-jitsu, and the main one that comes to mind is Mo Jassim, who's the head organizer for ADCC, Abu Dhabi Combat Club. And kind of when we talk about compensation in jiu-jitsu, it all goes back to the brand.
Correct.
So building a brand, the reality is while the money may not necessarily be there when it comes to competition, and don't get me wrong, it's definitely there at the highest level. You know, if we're winning the world championships, there's going to be a financial incentive. But I think the main goal of anyone that's looking to be lucrative within the space of jiu-jitsu should be building a brand that attracts people to you, whether that's instructionals, whether that's you've garnered enough attention to be taken on by a vacation camp to be an instructor, or whether, you're on a salary at an actual school or you own your own school. All of that stuff, to me, the success is predicated on your brand. Why do people want to learn from you and not everybody else? What sets you apart?
Correct. Yeah. Do you feel that jiu-jitsu could be at a higher level exposure-wise if different corporate partnerships came into play and the way that it's marketed?
Yes,
and the way that it's shot and giving it a whole treatment. I'm not going to say makeover because it sounds like it's going to be big, but it's in like the infant stages.
Of course, yeah. I think what you're kind of talking about, this unification or kind of this collaborative mindset would be really conducive to the ultimate growth of the sport. I mean, to me, the main thing, and we talked about this before, is it's all kind of about rule set. It's about it's about packaging it in a way that the experienced competitor can appreciate, but also in a way that some, average Joe walking off the street can appreciate. The main thing that sticks out to me when it comes to competitive jiu-jitsu is there's no unified body. There's no one rule set that is accepted to be the best rule set. Now, I would say maybe the court of public opinion has kind of started to pick that rule set.
Okay.
But I think the reality is that if we want to make jiu-jitsu lucrative, it all kind of goes back to the brand of jiu-jitsu. What's the rule set that will bring the most people in to watch it?
Gotcha. Is that, in your mind, what do you project and think? How far out do you think it's going to have to be before jiu-jitsu gets to that level where it do you feel that it will become televised and have that type of exposure as, like, say, like the UFC?
Yeah, so the reality is, and there's kind of been a lot of drama within the space about what the future of the sport is, but
Correct.
ESPN had briefly signed ADCC. They were going to broadcast all of it, and then there was some stuff that happened. It fell through the cracks, and the one that just happened a year ago ended up being on the original company that it was promoted by, which is Flow Sports, but I know for certain that Mo Jassim, the head organizer, is looking to expand maybe to Amazon Prime. He's already got stuff going on in the UFC. And the cool thing about One Championship, which is owned by Amazon, is that they do jiu-jitsu super fights on their MMA cards. So they're bringing kind of the public in on strict sport jiu-jitsu by kind of intermingling jiu-jitsu bouts in between their MMA fights, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Because that answers my question in terms of those type collaborations and partnerships, because now you can take an audience that's already built, and mixing in jiu-jitsu in between that can expose the sport more. I always like to ask all my guests is as closing remarks, based on your journey so far. 21 years old, right? How have you dealt with the ups and downs?
Yeah.
Everybody has ups and downs. Whether we're 21 or 48, we're going to have some ups and downs along our journey. How were you able to deal with some of the lows? It could be mental. It could be whatever, where you were just at a point where you didn't really feel like, you didn't feel your best. And I think everybody goes through it, ups and downs in life. How did you deal with it when you came to those points in your life? And what advice or solutions can you give to other young men and women to push through? How did you push through?
Yeah, so I'll just speak kind of from the most recent thing. So recently I was hit by a drunk driver, and I suffered 3 thankfully minor bulging discs in my back, and it took me out of training and also teaching.
Dang.
And so
how long were you down?
So thankfully, due to some peptides, I was able to take the recovery window down a lot, but I think I was ultimately out for a little over 2.5 months.
Damn.
From October till now.
It's a blessing that you made it through it.
Of course. Yeah.
Was it like a collision or?
Yeah, I was hit from the back. I was stopped at a red light, and the guy just hit me when I was stopped. Wrong place, wrong time. There's nothing I could have done about it. But the reality of the situation is I was taken out of what I thought my purpose was. And the reality of that is there was a lot of, mental health side effects of that. I was really struggling with my worth. What does Campbell have to bring to the table besides jiu-jitsu?
Correct.
And what I did is I started to really break it down. What drew me to jiu-jitsu? And I realized that it wasn't actually jiu-jitsu. It was learning. So while I was hit, I read this book called The Art of Learning by Joshua Waitskin. He's a 7-time chess world champion, and he's a black belt under Marcelo Garcia in jiu-jitsu, who's one of the greatest of all time. And he talks about how the greatest thing that you can do for yourself is fall in love with the art of learning, because the reality is once you come to understand the concepts of learning, what it takes to go from a complete amateur to someone who's able to operate at a high level within a given space, is if you can take those concepts, now you can apply those concepts to anything. It's not about how do I use these concepts to be good at jiu-jitsu. It's how do I use these concepts to be a good partner? How do I use these concepts to be a good brother? How do I use these concepts to be a good son? How do I use these concepts to be a good person?
Yeah.
So to me, the main thing is learn what you love.
Definitely.
And once you know what you love, chase it with everything you have. I mean, my thing is, my conviction is that I've come to know what I'm meant for and what I love at a very early age. So I'm not really in this in this mindset when I'm 21 where I'm still kind of searching for that thing. I really am convicted that I've already found that thing. So I would say my advice to you is look for the things that kind of set your heart on fire. And once you've found it, don't drop it for anyone. And that goes back to kind of the relationship stuff. I've surrounded myself with people that support me.
And see, that's a very important statement that you said. And I don't think people really understand the importance of having a village.
Of
and
course,
a village
it
is
takes
not
a village.
Exactly. And it's not going to just be your family. It's going to be those relationships that you curate along your journey to make your family even bigger. So your support system becomes bigger. That was a great response on that, Campbell. So I know you got a lot of, you got brands. I want you to just make sure you let the audience know where to find you on social media.
Of
now,
course.
It might take a minute, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate this opportunity you've given me. But yeah, so
thank you.
If you're interested in getting your kids into jiu-jitsu, I suggest you check out Odyssey Jiu Jitsu, and that's just at Odyssey Jiu Jitsu on Instagram. My personal account is Jiu-Jitsu Doesn't Work, because it doesn't work if you know it. Everyone else, when they do it to you, it won't work. So book me for privates, either for adults or for kids. If you need some dope fight wear, you can look at Free Smoke Fightwear, FreeSmoke_Fightwear on Instagram. And then if you need lifestyle clothing or some dope patches or gis or anything like that, I'm a brand ambassador at Nation_Athletic.
Dope.
They're doing great stuff, great design. So yeah, for everything you need fightwear wise, go there.
This has been a great episode.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's eye-opening, and you taught me a lot about jiu-jitsu, and it kind of gets me interested in trying to have some conversations with Greg as well.
Oh, yeah, you need to get Greg and Brandon in
Correct.
here. There's a lot they can bring to the table.
But we're going to wrap it up. This is Chop Talk with Harie, episode 11 with my young brother, Campbell Cobb. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate this opportunity.
Yes, sir. And it's a wrap.
Yes.